Welcome back, everybody. My name is All Fun and Games. I stream every day on Twitch TV, and I also make fun little videos here on YouTube. Today, we're going to be talking about the Klei forums a little bit more in depth as to if I think the Klei forums are good or if they're bad. Now, of course, this comes on my personal opinion and of personal experience with the Klei forums. So, don't feel like whatever I'm currently about to say is obviously going to affect you a ton, but I want to talk a little bit about it just because this has been my personal experience on the Klei forums. Now, of course, not everyone's experience is going to be the same, meaning that you might have a breeze and love the forums and it's the best place ever, but my experience has not really been that way. So let's talk about the Klei forums and what it is. In my previous video, I basically showcased that the Klei forums are where Klei actually goes through to post all their current updates for most games. So you can, of course, go back to the original location that shows every game that Klei is currently working on and having updates for. You can click on updates, for example, and it'll show you all the releases for the most recent versions of the game that got released with the fixes and blah, 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 blah. Then from there, you can decide if you want to go into the game forums and then choose general discussion, beta branch, whatever you might be looking for. And in there, you're going to find individual discussions for each individual player. So, for example, if you want to make a thing that says start a new topic, you can click on start a new topic, type in why I think meatballs are not tasty, and then just go on and post it and wait for people to respond to your forum. Now, of course, if your thread is not, exciting enough, people might not post on it. But if you have an interesting title on there and you're trying to find out some information, chances are somebody's going to respond. Okay, this is where things get a little bit spicy, and as to why I no longer really use the forums. I go here for information, for example, the roadmap, which obviously is posted by Joe directly, so I always make sure that I follow Joe W on the actual forums, which, I mean, Joe is usually the person that is a go-to for all current information. That's basically if you're looking to find out most current stuff and you follow Joe, it'll actually notify you when they do a post. Same when it comes to any type of drop system and all that other stuff. So it's good for this. It does tell you lots of different things, and there's more than just Joe that posts on here from Klei. As you can see, that Jason posted as well when the most recent update came out too. So it's a good all-around spot if you're looking to follow up with the actual Klei devs to see what they have coming out specifically. But then if you further go down the list, you can start to see other posts, like I said, which are from regular players. And of course, you can go in and post it yourself. Okay, so my history on the Klei forums has kind of been tainted a little bit, and I'll tell you why that is. Originally with the Klei forums, I kind of got into it pretty heavy, and I was very excited to start posting, and you can tell that I'm very, try to be positive with most of my posts, and I'm not such a hardcore player when it comes to Don't Starve Together. The trouble is with the the Klei forums, I find, is that a lot of the players on here are very, very hardcore players. Meaning, if you post something that says, I think meatballs are overpowered and I think that they need to be nerfed, you're probably going to get a lot of flack, which is exactly what happened. There's a few different posts that I had, which was obviously just discussing cool ideas that I had for Don't Starve Together, and of course they were just ideas. But on the Klei forums, people don't take them as ideas. They take them directly for what they are, and they basically either choose to disagree with you or go down the list of disagreeing with you even more. So my personal experience, of course, got ruined because I was just having a fun time posting random ideas and so on and so on. And eventually what ended up happening was I kind of just decided, okay, I'm not here for the drama, which was fine. And now I've kind of migrated away from the forums. So if you're going to be posting on the forums, and I don't really want to talk too much about in depth into my experience, but I just going to say that if you are looking to post on the forums, just be wary that you are probably going to want to keep it kind of short and sweet. At the very least, make sure that you're trying to kind of be as clear cut as you can. So for example, if you're going on there asking a question of should I play Wormwood, expect people to tell you a direct answer and probably ask you, to explain yourself a little bit further, as I feel like that's kind of the way that the forums kind of work. And the deeper you go into the forums, the harder things kind of get to get answers. For example, I recently posted a thing talking about how I wanted to see new improvements to players, which different characters and stuff. And that thread got kind of a little interesting at halfway through when people were like, no, all the characters are fine. Well, the funny thing is I made a YouTube video maybe about a few months ago talking about how we think all the characters need to have an update, and furthermore now we have a skill tree. So it's really funny how things end up working out anyways, and I'm not going to go back on that thread and be like, haha, I told you so, but it's really interesting to find out that on a thread that's on a forum that's specifically for talking and discussing, you kind of end up in a situation where people are almost making not making fun of you, but making you feel bad for posting your ideas. So, that being said, try to find a place on the forum that is actually for you to post ideas. So, for example, this is general discussion. So, you can, of course, go into like different things like bug tracking. If you're having problems, you can have like mods and tools. If you're looking for new mods, you can kind of go to suggestions and feedback and just make sure that you're posting in the proper area when you are, because I actually realized that when I went into the suggestions and feedback, well, this is where things got a little bit better. More people in here are posting about their ideas and what they would like to see in DST. You can see like, it just depends on what you're tagging as. So suggestion, Wilbur rework, ideas should be added. I don't know. This is just kind of like an area that you can post. The trouble is with the suggestion and feedback area is that not a lot of people actually go through here and reply, as most people stick around to the general discussion area. And that's why I think it gets a little bit tricky, because the players that are actually actively here on the forums all the time always have the same opinions about different characters. So if I go on here and I say Weber sucks, and a bunch of people are like, no, Weber's amazing, you just don't know how to play him. Well, of course, I have to make sure that I have a reason why Weber actually does suck. So what am I talking about and why am I rambling on about the forums? Okay, all I'm trying to say is that if you are going to post on the forums, just be a little bit careful with what you do. Make sure that you're very, very, very descriptive with what you're actually putting down if you're going to ask a question. If you are going to use the forums for ideas and different type of things when it comes to new updates, that's perfectly fine. But if you are going to look to post on here, just make sure that you are knowing what you're talking about, or at least the very least, making sure that you're posting in the right area, and expect that people are not going to be that easygoing if you have a question that doesn't really make much sense. And I learned the hard way, and I no longer post on the forums because of that. So what would I like to see on the forums? Honestly, moderation is pretty good. I will be honest with you. I don't know how Klei does it. They literally look through the forums pretty good. I mean, honestly, the fact that they go through there with a fine-tooth comb and they have to literally read through most threads, I don't think they're reading through all the threads on here, but I got to give him props. Klei does a great job, especially Joe. I find him in random threads just like commenting all the time, and it's really interesting just to see people kind of like be like, oh, Joe's in here, and like all of a sudden the moderation kind of kicks in. So I don't know if they could really change the forums around, and I don't know if they ever will, but I would like to see a more positive vibe when it comes to the forums. Mind you, most forums kind of mimic Reddit in a way that if your topic is on point and very good, people are obviously going to upvote it, and it's going to get a lot of likes and it's going to get a lot of views, and people are going to side with you. But as soon as something comes in and you might have an idea that doesn't really blend well with other players, well, that's where you're going to be kind of rubbing everybody the wrong way. And I think that's kind of my experience, is that I come into Don't Starve Together with a lot of random ideas that might not really match the lore and stuff, but I do think that it does make sense. I had a time where I was really hoping that DST would kind of, kick things into gear a little bit and change their ways, and sure enough, they're kind of doing that right now. I'm still hoping for Don't Starve Together dungeons, and if it ever happens, I will for sure make a post on the forum saying, haha, I told you so. Not to be petty, but just to be kind of like that person that says, okay, I feel justified the fact that my idea might have actually, had some sort of play on certain things. I will be honest with you and say that there have been multiple ideas that I've seen other people post on the forums that have been added into Don't Starve Together, so Klei is listening. You just have to be understandable that some players are not all in the same boat as you. So don't feel discouraged when you post on the forums. Don't take it to heart like I did, and just kind of just do it if you want to. You could also just browse around and watch what people are talking about and kind of see if you like the ideas, especially when it comes to mods. One place on the forums that I really like going to is the mods and tools. When you go in here, you can obviously see that like people are commenting about different types of things like mod breaking after placer up. So basically people talking about if the mods that they're currently using are having any problems. Mod character to use Wobby properly, blah, 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 and so on and so on. So I find this is kind of an interesting part of the forums, because in here you're going to find random stuff where people might have the same problem with you if they're currently using a mod that no longer works with Don't Starve Together. Anyways, just go out there and have a fun time. If you decide to use the forums, feel free to do so. If you decide to stay away from the forums, that's entirely up to you too. But I will tell you that although my experience has not been the best, am I ever going to avoid the forums altogether? No, I'm still going to go back here for random updates and stuff. I probably just won't be doing any posts on here. So be weary, but know that not everyone is out there to get you, but just make sure that if you comment, you're prepared for some sort of feedback that you might not really respect. Anyways, thanks again for listening, and I will see you in the next one.